Okay, this is the second installment of rehashing last week's teaching in week number 2 at the upper room of Sequim, where we are in John chapter 1, looking at John answering the quandary we find in Genesis 11. And so let me read John chapter 1, verses 1 through 5 and 9 through 14 again, and then just make a couple of comments. Beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were created, were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. The true light, which gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made through him. Yet the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own people did not receive him. But to all who did receive him, who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory, glory as of the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. Okay, now this is an amazing idea that John brings to us. I believe instructive that John introduces Jesus as the Word, because as we will remember, in Genesis 11, what did God do when man was trying to create his own utopia? He confused man's language and made it so they could not build their utopian world, because when they were building their utopian world, they were doing it in spite of God and beside God and not listening to God. And if God is love, then they were going to end up in a world that was based other than love. And so when John introduces Jesus, what he does is he says, Jesus is the Word. It's a very particular word that he uses here. It's logos, is the Greek word. Now, when this was written to the Jewish reader, what would happen is they would immediately think of God creating the universe. And how did he create all things? Through speaking, through words, through the Word, right? And so they would immediately understand this idea that John is bringing to them. But the Greeks would also have an idea of what John was speaking of, because this word logos in the Greek, well, it held a lot of meaning for them. Let me read this because I want to get it succinct. It came to be that the Greek word logos meant to them, it spoke of, rather, the mind of God permeating all things. The world existed according to it. One of the main progenitors of this word and understanding was Heraclitus. And he, it is said, stepped into a river. And he stepped out of the river. And he stepped back into the river. And what he was thinking is, the river that I stepped out and came back into, it's a totally different river, because it kept flowing. None of what he touched was the same river, but yet it still holds within its boundaries. What is it that makes it change, but also causes it to be continually the same? It's an amazing idea. And so they came up with this idea, the logos of God, the reasoning behind all things. And so when John introduces Jesus, he says, it's not some impersonal force that holds all things together. Rather, it is a man. It is Jesus. And so it's an amazing thing that John is doing. I want to point out that John is hijacking an idea, if you will, that they knew of as the Word. And what he's going to do is expand it and make it to be a sign of the real thing rather than a shadow of the real thing, if you will. And so I'm going to leave it there, but take some time, maybe go ask AI about logos and how it was used and become familiar with that. And I'll come back tomorrow and have a few words to say about this idea. So Jesus is the Logos. He's the answer to the confusion that the world is constantly in because God is order. And when you reject God, you reject order and you start descending into chaos. The farther away you leave God. And so he doesn't want us to live there. He wants to reach down, as he did with Jesus, and to bring us into heaven. We can't build our way up to it. We have got to allow him to reach out to us so that we can respond to it. God bless you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.